news for breaking news, updates, and exclusive content. For more information, visit www.skylinetv.ng. Skyline News, beyond the headlines. Good afternoon and welcome to News Drive on Skyline News. I am Maureen Ohaniel. Opposition politicians are intensifying efforts to build a stronger political alliance ahead of the 2027 presidential election, with former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, Peter Obi, and other opposition figures featuring prominently in the discussion. Nafisa Baba has the report.
The latest development comes as political activities gather momentum across the country, with the ruling All Progressive Congress already positioning itself for the next presidential contest. Political stakeholders within the opposition are increasingly arguing that defeating President Bola Tinubu at the polls could require greater cooperation among opposition parties and influential political figures. Former Progressive Governors Forum Director General Saliu Lukman says efforts are underway to create a framework capable of bringing together Peter Obi, Atiku Abubakar, and other opposition politicians. The proposal comes amid continuing discussion over how the opposition can overcome its diversion and present a more coordinated challenge to the APC. The 2027 contest is expected to focus heavily on the economy, insecurity, governance, and the performance of the Tinubu administration. With the major political figures already making strategic moves, the coming months are expected to bring further negotiations, alliance, and possible realignment ahead of the election. Nafisa Baba, Skyline News.
President Bola Tinubu's political camp is strengthening its structures ahead of the 2027 presidential election as the ruling APC begins preparations for another national campaign. Mohammed Musa tells us more on the story.
The president's supporters are increasingly mobilizing political leaders and influential figures across the country, while opposition parties continue to examine possible strategies for challenging the ruling party. The development signals an early start to what is expected to be a highly competitive election cycle. Tinubu's camp is expected to highlight the administration's economic reforms, infrastructure projects, and other policies as part of its campaign message. The opposition, however, is likely to focus on the cost of living, insecurity, and other concerns raised by Nigerians. The growing political activity is already generating debate over possible alliances, candidates, and campaign structures. As 2027 draws closer, more political actors are expected to decline their position and begin nationwide mobilization. I am Mohammed Musa for Skyline News.
Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu and other political figures are expected to participate in discussions on election security ahead of the 2027 general election. Oiza Danika has more.
Planned engagement will bring together political leaders and stakeholders to examine the security challenges that could affect future elections. Former Information Minister Lai Mohammed and former Ogun State Governor Benga Daniel are also expected to participate. The discussions are coming at a time when political parties are already preparing their structures for the 2027 elections. Election security remains a major concern, particularly regarding violence, intimidation, vote buying, and the protection of voters during the electoral process. Stakeholders are expected to examine ways of strengthening security arrangements and ensuring that future elections are peaceful, credible, and transparent. Dan Eka Oiza for Skyline News.
One of the major issues shaping Nigeria's political landscape ahead of the 2027 elections. Nafisa Baba has the reports.
Kwankwaso made the comments while reflecting on the political fortunes of former members of his political families who have fallen out with him. The former governor said his political partnership with Peter Obi was based on what he described as broader national considerations. He also spoke about former Kano governors Ibrahim Shekaro and Abdullahi Ganduje, as well as incumbent governor Abba Yusuf. Kwankwaso described the former political allies as having lost their political relevance in the state. His comments came as political parties and political actors continue preparation and realignment ahead of the 2027 general elections. The emerging aliens are expected to shape the political contest as politicians across the country continue to position themselves ahead of the elections. Nafisa Baba, Skyline TV News.
Opposition politicians are again putting pressures on the federal government over the country's security situation, following fresh reports of attacks and abductions in different parts of Nigeria. Mohammed Musa tells us more on the story.
The latest criticism comes amid renewed concerns over kidnapping and banditry, with opposition figures demanding stronger action from the government. The issue is expected to remain a major political talking point as the country moves closer to the 2027 election. The government has continued to defend its security strategy and has increased military operations against terrorists and bandits. Security agencies have also intensified air and ground operations in several affected areas. With insecurity continuing to affect communities, political parties are expected to make security a major part of their campaigns and policy proposals ahead of the next presidential election. Mohammed Musa for Skyline News.
More than 100 people have reportedly been abducted by gunmen in Niger State in a fresh attack that has heightened security concerns in affected communities. The victims were reportedly taken during an attack on communities in the state, with residents expressing fear over safety of their families and properties. The incident adds to the growing list of attacks and abductions recorded in parts of central Nigeria. Security agencies are expected to intensify efforts to locate the victims and rescue them safely. Authorities are under pressure to identify those responsible and prevent further attacks on vulnerable communities. We'll take a short break now. We'll be back after the break. Please do stay with us.
Watch Skyline News on Nightcomsat and Free TV. Stay connected wherever you are by streaming us live on the Free TV app, available for both iOS and Android devices via the App Store and Google Play. Follow us on all our social media platforms at Skyline TV News for breaking news, updates, and exclusive content. For more information, visit www.skylinetv.ng. Skyline News, beyond the headlines.
The Air Force says it has intensified air operations against terrorists, bandits, and other criminal elements operating against different parts of the country. The operations are focused on identifying and disrupting the activities of armed groups in the country, while providing aerial support to ground troops engaged in the country's terrorism and other security operations. The military says the renewed operations are aimed at weakening the capabilities of criminal groups. The development comes amid renewed call for stronger and more coordinated military action, particularly in parts of northern Nigeria, where communities continue to face threats from terrorists and bandits. Nigeria and United States are strengthening their security partnership through joint unarmed aerial systems training being conducted in Bauchi State. The training is expected to improve the ability of security personnel to carry out surveillance, gather intelligence, and monitor areas affected by terrorism, banditry, and other criminal activities. The initiative is also expected to enhance the operational capacity of Nigerian security forces. The partnership comes as Nigeria continues to seek stronger international cooperation in the fight against insecurity. Both countries are expected to deepen collaboration in areas including intelligence sharing, training, and the use of modern security technology. Still on insecurity, fresh concerns have raised over recurring attacks and killings in communities across Plateau State, with residents and stakeholders calling for urgent action to prevent further loss of lives. The renewed violence has increased anxiety among communities that have experienced repeated attacks in recent years. Security and community leaders are calling for improved intelligence gathering and faster responses whenever threats are identified. The situation has also renewed debate over the effectiveness of existing security measures in affected areas. Stakeholders are urging authorities to strengthen protection for vulnerable communities and address the underlying causes of the recurring violence. The Coalition of Security Sector Reform Advocates has backed President Bola Tinubu's proposed 90-day security plan, describing stronger coordination as necessary for tackling the country's security challenges. The group says effective implementation of the plan could improve cooperation among various security agencies and make operations more responsive to emerging threats. It also stressed the need for better intelligence gathering and effective deployment of security resources. The proposed initiative is expected to focus on strengthening security operations, improving coordination, and addressing gaps that have continued to affect the country's response to terrorism, banditry, kidnapping, and other criminal activities. More stories after the break. Please do stay with us. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Now we'll move to other states in the country. Ekiti State Governor Abiodun Oyebanji has commenced a 2-week annual leave as part of his official schedule. During his absence, the Deputy Governor is expected to oversee the affairs of the state and ensure continuity in government activities. The administration says governors will continue without disruptions while the governor is away. Government ministries, departments, and agencies are expected to continue implementing ongoing programs and projects during this period. The governor is expected to resume official duties after the completion of his leave. We move to the FCT now, where residents and business owners affected by recent demolition exercises in Abuja are counting their losses following the removal of structures in areas targeted by the FCT administration. The demolition exercise has been linked to efforts to address flooding, drainage challenges, and other environmental concerns in parts of the Federal Capital Territory. Some affected residents, however, say the exercise has had a significant impact on their homes, businesses, and sources of livelihood. The development has generated concerns among affected communities, with residents calling for greater consideration of impact of such exercises. The FCT authorities have maintained that measures are necessary to improve urban planning and protect communities from environmental hazards. Still on other states, we move to Abia. The Abia State chapter of the All Progressive Congress has withdrawn an ultimatum previously issued to some prominent members of the party. The decision is expected to ease tension within the party and create room for further discussions among members. The dispute has raised concerns over strength of the party's internal structure and unity in the state. The latest development comes as political parties across the country continue to strengthen their structures ahead of the 2027 general elections. Party leaders are expected to work towards resolving internal disagreement and building greater cohesion. Still in the east of the country, the Anambra state government has clarified its involvement in a controversy surrounding a purported federal agency and individuals associated with the organization. Authorities explained that the government has been misled about the identity and status of persons linked to the organization. The clarifications followed concerns over the activities of individuals allegedly presenting themselves as representatives of the federal institution. The development has renewed calls for government agencies and members of the public to properly verify and identify the credentials of the organizations and officials before engaging with them. Authorities are expected to take the appropriate steps where wrongdoing is established. Now with Nigeria, business trade between Nigeria and United Arab Emirates has increased significantly, with bilateral trade reportedly rising by 67.7% to about $5 billion in 2025. The increase reflects growing commercial activities between the two countries, with businesses continuing to explore opportunities in areas such as investment, trade, energy, and other sectors in the economy. The development highlights the expanding economic relationship between Nigeria and the UAE. Stakeholders say stronger trade relations could create more opportunities for Nigerian businesses and attract additional foreign investment into the country. Still on business, Nigeria's equities market ended the previous trading week on a negative note, with the market recording a decline in 1.35%. A total of 59 stocks reportedly recorded losses during the trading period, compared with 18 gainers. The performance reflects continued caution among investors as they assess economic conditions, corporate earnings, and other factors affecting the market. Market participants are expected to continue monitoring development in the economy, including inflation, interest rates, and exchange rate movement. Investors are watching the financial performance of listed companies for signals that could influence future trading decisions. The Nigerian naira opened the new trading week relatively stable against the United States dollar as activities continued across the country's foreign exchange market. The currency's performance is being closely monitored by businesses, investors, and consumers because of its impact on the cost of imported goods and services. Exchange rate movement also remained an important factor for the companies with foreign currency obligations. Market participants are expected to continue watching development in foreign exchange liquidity and broader economic policies. Stability in the naira could help businesses plan more effectively and reduce some of the uncertainties surrounding pricing and investment decisions. Nigeria's latest gross domestic product report is among the major economic developments expected to attract attention this week. The report is expected to provide fresh information on the performance of the Nigerian economy and indicate how different sectors have contributed to economic growth. Investors and businesses are expected to examine the figures for signs of improvement or weaknesses. The GDP figures could also influence expectations about government policies and future investment decisions. Economic stakeholders will be watching closely for indications of whether recent reforms are translating into stronger economic activity. Still on business, stakeholders in Nigeria's private sector are calling for additional reforms aimed at improving the country's business environment and creating better conditions for investment. Their demands include stronger regulatory systems, more predictable government policies, and measures that can reduce the challenges faced by businesses. They say a stable operating environment is essential for companies to expand, create jobs, and contribute to economic growth. Business groups are also seeking policies that will encourage both local and foreign investors to commit more resources to the Nigerian economy. They maintain that consistency and transparency in government policies remain critical to long-term economic development. More stories after the break. Please do stay with us. Now we move to the foreign scene. Iran's currency, the rial, has fallen to a new record low against the United States dollar, adding to growing economic pressure on the country. The development comes as the United States prepare to announce additional sanctions against Iran. The renewed pressure is raising concerns over the impact on Iran's economy, businesses, and ordinary citizens. The weakening currency could further increase the cost of imported goods and worsen inflationary pressures. Iranian authorities continue to face the challenge of managing the economic consequences of sanctions and tensions with the United States. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says his country wants peace, but will not surrender its territory to Russia. Zelensky made the statement as Ukraine marked its Independence Day, reaffirming Kyiv's position on the ongoing war. Ukraine has continued to insist that any settlement must respect its sovereignty and territorial integrity. The conflict continues despite several international diplomatic efforts aimed at finding a lasting settlement. Western countries have also continued discussions on how best to support Ukraine, while efforts to bring the war to an end remain ongoing. Still on the foreign scene, world shares have come under pressure amid continued movement in global bond markets and growing uncertainty among investors. Investors are closely watching developments surrounding Iran's weakening currency. Tensions between Washington and Tehran and the wider geopolitical situation concerned over global economic conditions continue to influence market sentiment. The latest movements demonstrate the sensitivity of international financial markets to geopolitical development and changes in economic expectations. Investors are expected to remain cautious as they assess the possible impact of these developments on growth, inflation, and interest rates. Tensions between Washington and Tehran remain high as the United States prepare fresh sanctions against Iran. The planned measure have drawn criticism from Iranian authorities who continue to oppose what they describe as increased economic pressure from Washington. The dispute comes amid wider tensions surrounding Iran's economic and regional activities. The latest confrontation is also being closely monitored by international markets because of its potential implications for the Middle East and global energy supplies. Any further escalation could increase uncertainty across the region and place additional pressures on already volatile markets. Ukraine continues to seek stronger international support as its war with Russia enters another phase, with President Volodymyr Zelensky calling for continued assistance. The Ukrainian government is particularly seeking support to strengthen the country's defense capabilities and maintain its ability to respond to Russian attacks. Kyiv has continued to engage with its international partners over military, financial, and diplomatic assistance. Western governments remain involved in discussions on additional measures to support Ukraine. At the same time, international efforts continue to explore possible avenues for a negotiated settlement to the conflict and an eventual end to the fighting. Now we move to sports. Nigeria's under-19 women's cricket team is preparing for the African Division 1 qualifier in Tanzania as the Young Yellow Greens target qualification for the ICC Women's T20 World Cup. Nafisa Baba has more on this report.
The Nigerian team is scheduled to compete in the tournament from August 30th to September 5th, with qualifications for the global competition serving as the major objective. The squad has been selected as part of the Nigerians' continuing efforts to develop the next generation of female cricket players and build a stronger pathway into international competition. The young players will face strong opposition from another leading cricket nations on the continent, making the tournament an important test of Nigeria's development program. Beyond qualification, the competition will give the players valuable international experience and an opportunity to establish themselves as future senior national team stars. Nigerians' participation also comes as the country's women cricket program continues to gain attention. A successful campaign in Tanzania could strengthen Nigerians' position in African cricket and provide another opportunity for the country to return to the global stage. Nafisa Baba, Skyline News.
Super Eagles striker Victor Osimhen continues to attract attention in the European transfer market, with reports linking the Nigerian forward with Manchester United. Oize Daneka has more on the story.
Osimhen's goal-scoring record has continued to make him one of the most closely watched Nigeria players in European football. Manchester United interest is being discussed amid the club's search for greater attacking strength, with the Nigeria striker regarded as a player capable of providing goals, physical presence, and experience at the highest level. A move to Old Trafford would represent another major chapter in Osimhen's career, and would place him under significant attention in one of the world's biggest football markets. His abilities to lead the line, create opportunities, and finish chances has made him a valuable target for major European clubs. For Nigeria football supporters, Osimhen's club future remains particularly important because of his role with the Super Eagles. His performance at club level will continue to be closely monitored as Nigeria prepares for upcoming international commitments. Dan Eka Oiza for Skyline News.
Nigerian striker Terry Murphy has completed his move from French club OGC Nice to Hamburg. Mohamed Musa tells us more on this story.
The transfer gives the Nigerian forward a fresh opportunity to revive his career in Germany and compete in one of Europe's major football leagues. Murphy has previously attracted attention for his goal-scoring ability and will now be expected to make an impact at his new club. The move also places another Nigerian player in the German football system, where competition for places is traditionally intense. Murphy will be hoping for regular playing time and a strong run of form. His performances at Hamburg will be closely watched by Nigerian football supporters, particularly the Super Eagles' continued preparations for future international assignments. I am Mohamed Musa for Skyline News.
The Enugu City International Marathon is set to take place on August 29 as athletes and running enthusiasts prepare for second edition of the event. Nafisa Baba has more on the reports.
Organizers are expecting the cold city to attract athletes and sport lovers as preparations intensify for the race. The marathon is being promoted as both a sporting competition and an opportunity to showcase Enugu's tourism and hospitality potential. The event is also expected to encourage healthy living and greater participation in road running. Organizers says the race will provide an opportunity for professionals and recreational runners to compete in the major event. With the second edition approaching, attention is now focused on final preparations, athlete participation, and the overall organization of the race. Nafisa Baba, Skyline News.
UEFA President Alexander Serafin has called for FIFA President Gianni Infantino to leave his position while making it clear that he does not want to replace him. Oiza Denaka has more on this story.
Sheffrin's comments add a fresh dimension to the ongoing debate surrounding FIFA leadership. The UEFA chief has criticized Infantino while distancing himself from speculation that he could become a candidate for the FIFA presidency. The disagreement comes at a sensitive time for world football, with FIFA continuing to face intense scrutiny over governance, international competitions, and the direction of the sport. Sheffrin remains one of the most influential figures in European football, and his comments are likely to generate further debate within football governing structures. The development will be closely followed by football federation and stakeholders around the world as questions continue over FIFA's leadership and future direction. Dan Eka Oiza for Skyline News.
Nigerian Afro star who moved to entertainment, Vic Tony, has released his second studio album, Star Life, marking what he described as a new chapter in his musical journey. The 15-track project features collaboration with artists including BNXN, Bland's Nose, YKB, Baby Boy, AV, Young John, and Fola, released on August 21st. Star Life sees Vic Tony embracing a more upbeat and confident sound as he continues to establish himself on the global Afrobeat scene. Afrobeat superstar Rema is set to headline the Kwita Iziana 2026 concert at the BK Arena in Kwagili, Rwanda on September 5th. The Nigerian singer will perform a day after the annual gorilla naming ceremony with Rwandan artist King Among announced the opening act. The concert is expected to attract music lovers from across Rwanda and beyond, further showcasing the growing influence of Nigerian Afrobeat across Africa. Still on the entertainment news, Jamaica's singer and songwriter Diani is making waves with his latest project, Miss You Bad, following the release of the album Live, Live and Prosper. The project explores the themes of love, heartbreak, emotional attachment, with Diani using his reggae sound to reply deeply personal stories. The release adds to the Jamaican artist's growing momentum as he continues to connect with audiences through a blend of romance, vulnerability, and Caribbean rhythm. To America now, American rock band Alabama Shakes are making a major comeback with their first studio album in more than 11 years, titled I Must Be Dreaming. The album is scheduled for release on August 28 and marks the group's return following their acclaimed 2015 project Sound and Color. Led by Grammy-winning vocalist Brittany Howard, the reunion is generated excitement among longtime fans as the band begins a new chapter in its musical career. That's all we have for you on Skyline News Drive. Thank you for staying with us. I'm your anchor, Maureen O'Haniel. Enjoy the rest of the day.